Hey guys, how the hell are you? Time once again for an all-new unbiased gear review. This time on this, the RD Compact by Origin Effects. But first, let's briefly go over some specs of this unit. So on the top here, we have instrument input, amp output, and right between them, we have a 9-volt DC center negative power. Up top, we've got output, highs, and gain. Second row, we've got blend, which blends in the amount of wet signal versus the dry signal. We have lows, and then we have this knob right here, which is more pres. If you turn it clockwise to the pres, you get reaction that's a little bit more like a presence knob. Whereas if you do it counterclockwise and head back to the more part of it, you get a little bit of a different sort of negative feedback that more so emulates sort of a plexi tone a little bit. Below that, we also have this mini toggle switch. Switch it up, it disengages the adjust knob that is also right here. And you can use this as a preamp pedal at that point. Otherwise, if using this as a drive in front of amps, depending on what flavor that amp is, if it's a little bit brighter, if it's a little bit darker, you basically have EQ1, which you can run in front of brighter amps to add a little bit more low-end oomph, or EQ2, which you can run in front of darker amps to sort of tighten things up and add just a little bit more brightness to it. All in all, there's a lot going on here. It is also a very, very heavy-duty brushed enclosure. It's got some heft to it, too. This has got some weight. Like, I could see myself fending off an attacker with this thing. It's got some good weight to it. But anyways, let's go right into the tone demo. For the purposes of this tone demo, I will be utilizing my Skelf model made by AC Guitars out of Scotland. Don't let the very untraditional look, especially of the pickups, fool you. This thing can belt out some great rock and metal tones. So yeah, we're gonna use this for the tone demo. Let's see what that pedal sounds like. Okay, so the very first thing that we're going to do is we are going to run this pedal into the back of the Marshall JCM 900, which is pictured behind the pedal right back there. And we are going to be using this as a preamp. As you guys can see, there's a little switch here for post-drive EQ controls, and is currently set up to the top for preamp. So yeah, let's give this a shot. This is the tone without the pedal on. As you can hear, pretty clean. And as you can hear, that's not really doing anything because we need to pump this up just a little bit. So blend is cranked all the way to the max now so that we can get the most out of this pedal. As you can hear, there's a little bit going on. Let's crank up the presence. See if that does anything. There we go, getting a little something out of this now. Let's see here. I'm not gonna lie, that's already a pretty damn awesome tone that I'm getting out of that. Very martially. That is really super martially. I like that a lot. Dude, I'm digging that a lot already. Let's see what happens when we run a Tube Screamer style overdrive in front. This is with it off. And now this is with it on. Now bear in mind, there again, this has an overdrive on in front of it. I'm using this pedal as a preamp right now. Really, really liking this. Turn off the drive. Cleans up really nicely too. Alright, now let's try using this pedal as an overdrive in front of an already distorted amp. This is the Marshall JCM 900 SLX. And now let's run it in front of the Mesa Boogie Triple Rectifier Rev G. This is what that sounds like. So overall, my final thought on this pedal. This was definitely something that I was a little skeptical about. One of the companies that always interested me was Origin Effects, but every time I would always see it, I would see the price point that these things go for, and I'd be like, what? Like, how can anyone justify that for a drive pedal? Let me tell you, after owning it, I see why you spend that much for this, because this is meant to be a sort of be-all, end-all drive pedal. The amount of tweakability in this thing is ridiculous. The whole point of this is that it's not necessarily meant to be another emulation of a Tube Screamer, a Blues Driver, a TC Electronics integrated preamp, a Boss Super Overdrive, anything like that. It's not meant to really emulate what came before. It's meant to be something that sort of encapsulates all those different tones and allows you to blend between them to the amp, as opposed to what we normally do, which is that we buy 1,000,001 dirt boxes hoping that one is going to be the perfect fit in front of whatever amp we're running it in front of. In this case, what Origin Effects intended with this is to create one of those perfect amp in the box units that basically no matter what you're running it into, tweak this, bring this up, bring this back, whatever you need to do. But this is meant to be something that you can tailor the drive to the amp. So that is what you're paying for with this. In addition to the fact that this thing is just built like a tank. I mean, as I was mentioning earlier, this thing has some weight, it has some heft to it. It really feels like a weapon with how much mass is actually in my hands right now. But to me, that is what you're paying for. Is you're paying for something that is meant to be a be-all, end-all Swiss Army knife of a drive pedal. I think that they've succeeded quite considerably. I mean, running this thing in front of 3 different amps, I can really tailor the tone of this pedal to match whatever guitar I'm running through it, to match whatever amp I have it in front of. I think this is ridiculously cool. And let's not also forget that flip this little mini toggle up to preamp here and you can get some damn Marshally tones out of this. This really is an amp in the box in that regard. You run this thing in front of a power amp, you run it into the back of another amp, into the effects return, and you can get some awesome hot-rodded plexi tones out of this. Marshall tones this thing has in spades. It had a wide breadth of different tones in there, just depending on what you set these knobs to. You wouldn't even think it would have that much tweakability and could cover so much ground in just a little compact box like this, but it really does. This pedal is killer. It's an absolute resounding success if you ask me. But Arnold, what are you drinking today? I am so glad that you asked. Today, I am drinking from Twisted X Brewing Company out of Dripping Springs, Texas. I am drinking Pitmaster Prime Pilsner. So this is something that I recently just found, of all places, in a clearance rack. It was at Walmart. I found it on clearance at Walmart. But that being said, let's give this a shot anyway, because I was very intrigued. I'm always a big fan of lighter beers like Pilsners, Kölsches, lagers of many different types. And I'm not gonna lie, I have already partaken in one of these already up to this point and quite enjoyed it. It has a very, very interesting flavor to it. So right off the bat, the aroma, rather clean, rather unassuming. You're not getting a lot out of smelling it that gives you any sort of indication about what's to come. Maybe something a little bit more body in that aroma, but not really anything that's like super present. Like you can't pick out any sort of like bready malt or anything like that. Definitely nothing too floral either. But oh, that taste. It is a little clean, it is a little crisp, but out of nowhere comes this sort of bready maltiness that's really, really awesome, especially being that this is a Pils. I would have expected it to be maybe slightly hoppy, maybe a little bit more floral, but no, this is a little bit malty, almost like a pale lager or like a Kirsch for that matter. It is really, really damn good. There again, this is Pitmaster Pilsner from Twisted X Brewing out of Dripping Springs. Oh damn, that's just tasty. This is something that you would want to drink sitting out in your backyard, just chillaxing all day. This is great. I love it. So thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel. There is tons more metal and guitar oriented content to come. And as always, remember, take what you do seriously, but do not take yourselves too seriously.